whatever it is that they do use to explain their assaults, it's just an excuse because in reality, Israel's the largest threat in the region to Hezbollah's goals, to Iran's goals, to, I mean, even the Sunni countries, because prior to the Abraham Accords.
How easy, and I want to come back to China in a second because that's interesting what's been happening with Iran, China, and Russia, and you're a great guy to break that down. But, you know, in our American-centric view, for example, we have the rules, like even on Wall Street, they'll have it like you will not do any financial relationships with the country of Iran or whatever. You know, you sign like a legal document with that. So there's all kinds of sanctions here with Iran, and you have other countries in the world who do the same thing. In the Middle East, I would imagine a lot of them are not like that, as you've already laid out. But is it like a piece of cake for Iran to fund Hezbollah or Hamas without people being able to track the money as it's coming in?
People track the money, and I mean, it's the piece of cake. If what you're saying is it easy? Yes,
Yeah.
it is easy because they're so physically close to each other. It's really just a truck delivery of cash, right? So it can be as easy as that, or it can be something that goes through a financial bank, especially when you consider some of the massive financial institutions that pride themselves on anonymity and secure transactions. Whether that's
Switzerland.
or Dubai, Shanghai, Hong Kong, right? Like you've got lots of financial centers that you can go through that pride themselves on absolute secure transactions and anonymity. So yes, it's easy for Iran to fund, but people are also tracking the money. So it's one of those weird tongue-in-cheek realities. Like if somebody listening right now doesn't realize that Iran funds terrorist groups all over the world, American definition of terrorism, extremist groups. If you don't know that Iran funds extremist groups, then welcome to the party because everybody's been talking about it. Not everybody. Government leaders and the press and subject matter experts have been talking about this since early 2000s. This is Iran's strategy. They prevent themselves from ever having to go into a traditional inter or intrastate war because they're able to fund proxy groups that die for their own cause, but spend Iranian dollars to do it, or Iranian money to do it.
How familiar are you with, because you know a lot, I don't expect you to know every single thing though, but how familiar are you with the, say, last 30, 40 years of like Lebanon history in the middle of this conflict?
I know Lebanon enough to know it's been a nasty place, and it wasn't always a nasty place. Right. It is a country where Hezbollah is the elected political party.
Yep.
And that was incredible to see the legitimacy of a terrorist organization take the political office of a country. So that's about the extent to which I am familiar with Lebanon.
So they're interesting to me because there's a lot of different religious demographics in Lebanon, and it's like 24 to 30% Christian, and then I believe it's 27%, I want to say Sunni Muslim, 21% Shia Muslim, and then the non-Christian and non-Muslim religions, there's like some esoteric Middle Eastern religions that people haven't heard of and stuff. But meaning it's not this one block kind of place like we talk about in Iran or something else. But to your point, Hezbollah, which is called a terrorist organization by many people across the world, and I agree with that one because of the way they finance themselves and who finances them. I totally agree with that. But they have the two wings. They got the military wing and they have the political wing. And the political wing controls, as you said, a lot of the seats in their Congress. And this rose up, I guess, after the 82 crisis or whatever in Lebanon. But is part of it still there's disputed land on the border of Israel that Lebanon thinks is theirs and Hezbollah is seizing on that as a part of their political platform?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to how much of the explanation of the conflict with Israel, between Lebanon and Israel, is land disputes.
Okay.
Whatever it is that they do use to explain their assaults, it's just an excuse because in reality, Israel's the largest threat in the region to Hezbollah's goals, to Iran's goals, to, even even the Sunni countries, because prior to the Abraham Accords, none of the Sunni countries recognized Israel. The first Sunni country to recognize Israel was, I think it was Bahrain, and I think it was 2019. 2019? Think about that, man. That's 5 years ago. The first Sunni country recognized diplomatically Israel. Israel's been around since the end of the world.
71 years before that. Yeah.
So, like they've been surrounded by enemies for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're talking a bit about, you know, what you deem to be a terrorist, and you know, is it really a terrorist group or isn't it a terrorist group? The policy of it is one thing. There is a very clear definition. There's a very clear definition of terrorism, and that definition has to do with seeking political goals through the act of violence that's designed to cause fear, right? The problem is that recipe can be interpreted a lot of different ways, right? What is it when a U.S. aircraft carrier goes into the Red Sea to launch rockets on a Houthi rebel base? What is that? Is that not an act of force to cause violence to change policy? And that's the argument that the world is making about the United States, or more correctly, that is simply the window that the world is watching through when they see the moves that the United States makes. And it's nasty because from our perspective, we're fighting extremism. From the rest of the world's perspective, we're the extremist.
That's right.
It's tough. It's a sticky situation, and it's one that is leading to so much of the conflict that we have right now, because whoever takes office in 2024 is taking office in a country that is losing influence, struggling with economic uncertainty, has to manage conflicts in Europe and the Middle East.
Right.
The Middle Eastern conflict is escalating. We don't know what Iran's going to do next, but they're going to do something next. They're not just going to let it sit that Israel launched rockets into Tehran. That can't just sit. But do we see a response in 7 days or 70 days or 7 months? Right? And one of the two people running for president right now may be the president when that response actually happens. Not to mention, whoever's in office next is very likely going to be the person who sees what happens in Europe next between Ukraine and Russia.
Yes, we'll come to that too, for sure. It's a mess. It's a fucking mess. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.